Hello. Oh no. Are we ready? Are we ready? We are now live. Hello. Hello. Nice to see you all this week. Good to see you. Those of you who are back and on it this week. We are here, and today we are talking all about sport and
tennis. Well, tennis is the introduction to that, and I'm sure, unless you lived under a rock for the past few days, you would have seen I can't think of anything other word to describe it than the glorious maybe the magnificence. It was
wonderful.
It was the best women's tennis, men's tennis. I was speechless.
What, even Martina Navratilova and Steffi Graf days?
So for me,
Steffi was a great
player. For me, Navratilova and Steffi Graf were my favourites. I wasn't really into the men's. Then Sampras came along, and I thought, oh, that's pretty good. And then Federer came along, and Federer and Nadal's were my top.
Yeah.
There was a couple, Kim Clijsters, Justine and Arden. And then I didn't really, even though I liked Serena doing well, I wasn't really into it because it was a bit...
different type of tennis.
No, but
what I loved about Steffi Graf and what I loved about the tennis we saw on Saturday was that kind of ground stroke, speed, power, just, it's the kind of thing where it's that good. You just think, if I was standing on the other side of that tennis ball, I would scream and run away.
Well, you wouldn't be there, would you?
No,
it was incredible to watch. So, yeah, Emma Raducanu, 18 years old. I had a funny feeling she'd get quite far. John McEnroe, even though people say it was controversial, it wasn't. People just spun it ridiculously. After she pulled out of Wimbledon, was 100% correct. He said she got overwhelmed.
Controversial.
Yes,
but that's still not what has been said. You know that about her medical condition.
No, she said. She came out.
No.
I watched the video.
Okay.
And she said she felt that the occasion got too much for her, right? And she was advised by her medical team that if she cannot regulate her breathing, then she needs to pull out. So if there was an underlying issue, yes, that may not have been confirmed, but she said it herself, she was interviewed wearing the England top.
Yeah,
right?
no, I remember, but I also remember on Instagram, she said...
Mark's in. Hey, Mark. Talking about sport, by the way, Mark.
Privilege, you forgot that bit, that was the title.
Okay, right, we'll crack on with drifting. We've got 5 minutes.
Privilege. Okay.
So the reason why we're talking about this is that in the tennis, we watched it, and it's a great time for sport, and everyone was waxing lyrical now about how we should push on and this is great for sport. It is. However, it still is a very privileged position to be able to get to the stage that she has got to in her playing career compared to the average person. So even though, yes, it's great for, I guess, women's tennis, women in sport, it is not great for the average male or female in school or in sport, because in state schools, sport is terrible. It's in a terrible place, and it always has been, and it's getting worse.
Can I just caveat that as well? Because we're not just talking about sporting success as in... pinnacle of and world beating. We're talking about sporting success also being just being able to play and enjoy yourself, aren't we? So yes, of course, we will always, hi Kimberly, we'll tend to see more about and applaud people like Emma Raducanu, who have just done incredibly well, and I'm not in any way underplaying how well she's done. But sporting success isn't just about being the best. Sporting success is, for me, being able to play sport, be active, and have a degree of competence, perhaps have had some coaching to help you overcome things that you're not that great at, and so therefore you need a bit of help with, and therefore be able to stay fit and active for life, and that it's something that you can do, that you're confident to go and join in, rather than always feeling like you're on the outside.
Great example that at our club, our running club, and we have got a teacher who's a deputy head teacher at a school, and she wants to put on athletics club after school. And she put out a post, and it was forwarded on from our head coach. And at the club, it is run predominantly by volunteers. That is the bedrock of sport in this country. It's run by people donating their time free of charge. And without that, there is no foundation in sport. She wants to put it on for a year. She's got the funding, and she said it will be a position that will last for 1 year, and it'll be £20 per session, right, or per hour. And
so they were going to pay
somebody,
the specialist
£20
an hour.
Now some might think, that's not a bad rate. That's not, you shouldn't grumble at that. Well, let me break it down for you. You've got to travel from here to that venue. You've got to, which eats into your travel time, and then obviously fuel costs. You've got to factor in planning your session as well. And then also, you're in charge of a lot of kids who are in very different stages in their life, progression and sport. And you do need to have a little bit of training, which again costs money. And I just feel that is where sport is.
But it's not just the training, it's the specific training, is it? It's safeguarding and all of those kind of things, like to exercise with children as well. So point being, it's it would still be technically voluntary, wouldn't it? By the time you've driven over there and used your time, I mean, it's more than voluntary. You're losing money because you're losing income.
But it'd be a better setup if it was advertised as a voluntary organisation or a setup that they're going to have this voluntary system where they need some specialist coaches come and donate their time and maybe have a rota, but to actually... I didn't feel offended because I don't really care because I didn't apply. But it's just, that's the state that we're in. That's the state of sport
you already
right now.
volunteer, don't you, once a week down at the athletics club?
My voluntary time is all taken up right now. I have no more space, and I felt I wouldn't mind helping out, but actually I know what will happen. I'll be overextending my time, my energy, and it will not be worth my while, even though I'd love to help the kids out with that. So that on one side we have the Emma Raducanu success, and everyone's saying, "Oh, this isn't great. Isn't this great for sport? It's great for young women." I'm like, no, it's not, because you don't work on the shop floor, and on the shop floor, it is still terrible.
Well, let's just rewind a little bit back to the Olympics as well. And what was it that every success story said? Thank you for National Lottery funding.
National Lottery funding.
So and even now in terms of things like initiative. I know the kids cricket club, an initiative to get cricket back last year over COVID.
Yeah.
After COVID, that was due to a grant.
Yeah.
So a lot of grassroots sports are dependent on grants, charitable giving, and that kind of thing. So the other side of this is, we're parents and we do our very best in terms of time commitments. I've just done a hoof. They're about to dancing. You're about to go and pick Isaac up from tennis.
Yeah.
It isn't an inconsiderable amount of money that you sort of invest. I think invest is a good word, because it's not about, we don't necessarily want our kids to be amazing at sport. We just want them to fulfill their potential and have something that they can fall back on so that they've got the confidence to do it. Also, obviously, it's great for their health and fitness and then for their social side of things. But it's brought out, I don't want to go into detail of our children, but, certainly with Isaac, it's massively brought him out of his shell, hasn't it?
We're trying to create a lifestyle where they can dip in and out of different things when they choose to, because as we know, the mental health and well-being of kids, but people in general, is essential now more than ever. And this means being able to have a form of escape from
something that
life,
you can
the world,
into,
where you're in and out of that. And that's why we do that for our kids.
A tree that you can belong to.
But the problem is that these options are limited, and I call them privileged because they are privileged. People are privileged to do these like we are, because we there's two of us, so there's two parental privilege, which means, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's much harder for a single parent than it is to do what we're doing. Those who have access to those clubs and courses, the funds for those clubs and courses as well.
The time as well.
The time.
We
sacrifice income as well to run our kids around. And many parents say the same thing. Now, if you can't do that, then you're going to struggle to give these opportunities to your children. So this is a form of privilege. And one of the intros to this live was about privilege is living long and strong in tennis, because Emma Raducanu is a picture poster woman of privilege in this country, which is, if you have parents who can run around and take you to different places, if you have the facilities and the money, the time, maybe the coaches as well, all these things help you to be able to progress. And if you haven't got access to those, you haven't got access to those things, then you're going to really struggle. And our issue is we're trying to bridge the gap between those parents, because the parents who take the kids to everywhere and have the time and energy and money and finances to do that will be okay, but we care deeply about the kids who don't have access to those things.
Also, don't forget, if it were just me in this, and I'm not from a sporting background at all, I'm not going to have taken my children down to an athletic club. No. I might have taken them to things that I knew about, like kind of rugby or tennis, but that's not, it's not my area of understanding. I feel completely intimidated. I don't now, because I've been down there and I get it and I understand it, but I think that's another area of privilege, that's the world that you come from and you understand. And also massive privilege to have you in our lives, because you understand how to nurture physical development in our children far more so than me. You know, you've helped me along. So but I think the main hub of this is the financial one, and unfortunately, you know, PE in school is pretty much one, two if you're lucky, hours of being active a week, and it's not particularly assessed. You know, not that everything is down to assessment, but it's not necessarily going to bring out the middlies who need help. If you are someone that just feels that you've got no confidence as a child, and you can see all the others that are always being picked for the things to do,
it's not treated seriously. It's not treated as a professional endeavour by anybody, and there should be a director of sport within a school. And I know this is an idealistic point of view, and it does require funds and logistics to be able to do that. But you do need somebody who's responsible for the physical development of the child. And
well, there are
no, it's a minimum.
No, what I'm saying is that you get people that are in charge of the pastoral development of children, but it doesn't seem to be that there are people that, I mean, there used to be, but people that really oversee the physical development of children. And I think PE, physical education, needs to be just that, not just this is a sport, let's all play it. This is a sport, how do we play it? It's what happens to my body when I do exercise.
You got to layer it.
That's that's far more motivating for someone that's maybe not very quick to think, well, actually, I might not be very quick, but this is what's happening to my body when I do this, so I might stick with it.
You can't lay a sport on top of somebody who hasn't learned a skill of movement. And this is the issue we're circumventing the skill bit, which is what Karen was mentioning earlier about how your body responds to exercise, how you learn a skill, coordination, and then you add the sport on top of that. And sport comes at a later date, which is why we were half right about trying to remove competition from schools, because it is irrelevant at this stage. It doesn't really make much difference. And the argument got taken out of context, where you'd have Piers Morgan on one side who said it's ridiculous, you've got to learn how to lose, and others on the other side saying, well, you know, if you're going to learn to lose, you're going to lose at some point in your life. Why learn at school? It's not about that. It's that it has no bearing on the success of that child, either at a high level or even at a recreational level. It has no bearing whatsoever. So that's my concern, that whilst we are still thinking, yes, it's great that Emma's done really well, and it is one of the most unbelievable sporting achievements I have ever witnessed. And when I think it was the first, second or third game in, I thought, she's got this. And I watched her through the previous rounds too, and I thought, she's obliterating people. I didn't have that self-deprecating British way of thinking, oh, please don't do a double fault. Oh no, please, oh no, need a rain break. No, it
when
was,
I saw her
she's
at
going
the
to win.
start, she looked really pale, and I thought she was nervous.
No, I thought she was going to do it. So this is our issue. It's a double-edged sword. That elite sport is not the same as school sport, particularly state sport, or recreational participation sport. They are two different beasts altogether. And at the Olympics, I would say, oh, isn't this great how we've got, you know, more women have won gold medals? And no, it's not great, because more young girls and women are tapping out of sport at an early age.
The divide is
so I'm sorry, I'm not going to jump on that on the current fad bandwagon where people will try and claim that things are great when they're not, because we work on the shop floor like we do, and we're trying to help to create solutions for this. It isn't getting better; it's actually getting worse in our opinion. What we do like, and what we found after our athletics camp that we had over the last 10 weeks, really, but 8 weeks, but 10 weeks, was there's a lot more girls who are coming down. And one of the boys actually noticed, he said, I'm the only boy here, not just in my group, but in the other 3 groups down the club. So in one sense, we are encouraging girls at some point to be able to take part in sport, but there is still that high dropout rate, and that's something that we need to address, and it will not be addressed by thinking that Emma Raducanu's success is somehow a sign that we are in a good place with sport, particularly state school sport, because we aren't. It's getting worse.
And she's just a really happy coincidence that she had, you know, some good genes. She's tall.
Yeah.
She had a good mental attitude, clearly from a very early age. She had that kind of gritty determination.
Yeah. Again, parental privilege.
She's smart. She understands the game.
Western privilege. Western education privilege.
She so she can work out the game. She can work out how to beat her opponent. It's like a game of chess for her.
So coaching privilege.
And she has it all. At the moment, she has it all also because she is obviously of Romanian Chinese descent, and
strict parent privilege.
And Nike
as a sort of an African parent, I know that.
So she's going to be ching ching.
And Nike loving it, sort of
but if you
well-spoken privilege, attractive privilege.
The sad thing is there will be other children like that don't have the financial backing or parents that really understand how to put that all together. So there could maybe be 10 or 20 Emma Raducanus in this country, but we might never find them.
And we won't, because the current system will not allow that. And an idea that we had for the low paid job for the coach was a parental contribution, 50 pence, £1, and that would top up and make it much more, not even attractive, as a viable business opportunity. But this parental contribution floods through the entire system, as Karen just said, about Emma's parents. Their contribution was they took her to different places and we paid for different things. And unfortunately, our question now is how do we reach? Our question is how do we reach? I loved it when you gave her a check and she giggled. But I give you a check for $2.5 million. She was just like, oh my gosh. But I guess our point of view is that we're trying to reach those people who maybe haven't got that route Emma had. And so our question about all this was a bigger question is, it's great for tennis, great for certain parts of sport, but how are we going to reach those people who currently just think, that's a route I could never, ever go down, no matter how much you want it. And I don't like it when people say, you've just got to want it. You've just got to want it. No, you've got to want it.
Live it, dream it, it will happen.
Anyone can do it. No, they can't.
Yeah.
There are certain things that will hold you back. And unfortunately, these privileges, which we mentioned earlier, are there and they're not getting any better. So we would hope and encourage schools, and we hopefully going to work with some schools over the next 6 months to a year initially, to try to reach these kids and try to reach people in different ways through sport and exercise.
But also try and reach parents as well, to help parents and teachers, to help them to understand
what
we can do. On that note, you just totally stole my closing statement there. Working with children, but also teachers and parents to help them to understand really what they can do to help their children. But on that note, Chris has gone to pick up Isaac from tennis. We are done. But are you going to take Daddy's place for this last bit? We are done for the day. And if you've got any comments on this or answers, please do let us know at the comment below or share a DM with us. And we'll see you next time. Bye.